Welcome to the Wealth Break. This is where we unlock stories of financial success, breaking down odds, being yourself, and then doing it in a way which we hope closes the wealth gap. Today's episode, I'm actually really excited. It's an incredible conversation about creativity and being your authentic self. And how do you leverage, let's remove the fact that maybe business and financial success is here and creativity is over here. Let's merge it together. And who else but to talk about these things than Coco and Breezy, two wonderful entrepreneurs, creatives, artists, designers, and you name it. So great episode. Can't wait to talk about it. Are you excited?
Oh, of course I'm excited. Coco and Breezy are amazing.
You know, I don't know for you, I look at my life and I'm exhausted. We work hard, but then sometimes I go home and I look at them flying around, bags in the bags, and I'm like, I can get up. I can go do whatever I gotta do.
Yeah. On the flip side, I get tired looking at that because I know how much we travel and it's nowhere near scratching the surface of what they have to do. Man, it can be exhausting, but it is inspiring because at the end of the day, when you want to just kind of just sit down and relax, you know somebody's going harder than you. And that's what's important. And you need that type of drive around you to continue to keep you motivated to keep going.
It is it's been motivating to say the least, to see the multiple roles, for even someone like ourselves, which at one point in time I thought I was a workaholic, but then I'm like, I'm kind of not. I actually, you invest in the things that I think you care about. And when you care about it and its purpose, it doesn't necessarily always feel like work. 'Cause I don't think this really feels like work. Going to DC feels like work.
Yeah, some of the conversations we have to have feels like work. But there's learnings in all of it, right? And it's we're learning how to navigate spaces that we never really thought that we would have to. And the what I would say is we become a lot more dangerous because we now are being exposed to and being made aware of worlds that we didn't know exist. And it's just making us much more multifaceted. So, you know, but yeah, I think that when I find myself up at 12:30 at night working, it doesn't necessarily feel like work. Um, and that's exciting. And I think that should be the goal.
One of the things that I think we're going to talk about is like balance and how do you figure out a lot. What's balance for you? Because I think now I'm starting to figure. I think everyone has to create their own definition of balance.
Yeah, I think balance for people is different, right? For me, I have a 3-year-old son, right? And what's balanced today wasn't balanced 5 years ago. Balance 5 years ago meant I could go sneaker shopping, I could go listen to music, I could do whatever it is that I wanted to do at that time. It might have been going out and having, party time. But today, balance is, making sure that my son knows that I'm there and I'm present, right? And, the comfort that I see in his face when I'm around is really important and being there for the milestone. So that to me today, family is more balanced than it ever has been.
Yeah. I always say until I have family, balance is going to be me and my Peloton. It's a great person. No, I'm just joking. Nah, me and my workout. I think cooking has turned into a certain type of balance. To be honest, what has also worked out as balance is being alone and silent, just being alone. So many parts of our life is like we're interacting with someone. You forget what it means to just be alone. Right now, that being alone is as good as laying on any beach in the world for
Yeah.
me.
And that's what's exciting is when you can be alone and be content with being alone. There's a lot of people who don't necessarily, they get lost in their thoughts, which may not be necessarily as positive as they would like to be, or they're not as happy with themselves. And being alone reminds them of that. I think part of balance and ultimate peace is being able to be at home by yourself, relaxing and feel good about that.
Oh man. So this is the part of the show we code switch. My favorite part. This code switch discussion, I don't know if we got enough time to talk about music and vice versa, but we're going I guess the discussion for the code switch today is as we think about Drake and Kendrick Lamar and Beyonce and these creatives that we should be calling businesses, well, I think we need to be talking about some of the sacrifices. Are they good businesses? Are they bad businesses? Like, do we care?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because a lot of times you don't necessarily see those businesses open and shut, right? What you see is sometimes you'll see a company that's on a tear. And let's just say right now, an AI company, right? Like Nvidia is on a tear. Um, you know, one could say that Kendrick Lamar is on a very similar tear for this year being 2020. Oh, well, 2020, 2020, excuse me, 2024 was definitely Kendrick Lamar's year. I think that that's now kind of transitioning into 2025 with the Super Bowl coming up. But with that said, at the height, right? The height. And sometimes businesses will become less popular. Some of sometimes they shut down completely, but a lot of times artists is kind of like they're still doing it, but they kind of like go into like this quiet phase of oblivion and they're just not on the billboards anymore. They're not doing the Super Bowl, but their business has changed.
You know what shocks me, especially about the entertainment and in this particular discussion, the perception. I wasn't necessarily shocked to see that Drake was still the most streamed artist last year, and but you and you and but the perception is that he took a back seat. He's not no he's not warranted or wanted or people aren't listening to him. And the facts are probably something completely different. That perception is dangerous.
No, for sure. And I think that's a challenge for artists, right? Because they could be doing really, really well, but and their numbers might look great, but we don't necessarily always see the numbers or the ins and outs of their business. Because you could also be a really big artist like a Drake, but no one knows what your splits are, right? And from the perception is that you're the biggest in the business, which means you should be making the most money, and that's not always the case, which is also very, we've seen the turmoil that's created from artists having meltdowns because they feel like they should have more than they actually do have. So when you think about the business aspect, do they truly know their business? Are they running good businesses? And is there longevity in it, right? Because a lot of the money that many of them make for a short period of time is going to have to last them for a lifetime.
You know what story, celebrity artist story that treats I think they treat everything like a business is my favorite story because I just like them. I actually am a huge fan of what Cameron and Mace did last year. Um, it's just because number one, I think they always knew it was a business and they used the perception of when they were hot to do many different things and they continue to figure it out. It makes me feel like how we just continue to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they played really. I think they understand what's hot, and that's the skill that they possess that companies pay a lot of money for in consulting fees, right? For someone to tell them what's hot, what people want, and people want the way that we would talk about sports or the way we would argue about you know, you know, rap music or hip hop music or just music in general, there's a way that we want to have those discussions, and you can't do that on ESPN the way that you want to do it. And I think that kudos to those guys for figuring out this is what the people want, and it's entertaining. Everybody wants the barbershop talk. You think about how many people. I think it's very clear that black barbershops is an experience and everyone doesn't necessarily have a haircut that's going to be delivered in a black barbershop. So to give them that barbershop talk and that environment and put that on for all eyes to see was an amazing concept, right? And clearly the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, my other favorite part about it all is that like as they're getting in later, as they have evolved in their career, they're also the owners, the talent, the managers, the producers, and that's fun to watch because it's like, nah, I just do it myself.
And they're taking it seriously, right?
Yes.
There's a professional aspect to the way that they're delivering on that. And, anybody could just go get a microphone and, a couple cameras and feel like, all right, cool, this is now our new sports
Or
podcast.
anybody can be getting paid to do it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But to put your own money up, to build a real set, to put the suits on, to do it the right way, there was just a lot of intentionality, which I think is super dope.
Kudos. So I think today, so excited about our guests in Coco and Breezy. Number one, I think they take it serious. I think they're dedicated. I think it's a business. I think their total story spans so many different ups and downs, reinventions, and balancing it. I think everybody has a piece of their story in their own story. So can't wait. Without further ado, let's welcome Coco and Breezy. Incredible, inspiring, multi-hyphenate. I got to talk to the team about these words that I don't say well, but we're talking about entrepreneurs, creatives, DJ, artists, producers, fashion, well-being, the list goes on. But I'm so excited that you guys are here with us today. Welcome to the Wealth Break.
Thank you. Thank you. We're so honored to be here.
So good to see y'all. Always.
It's so good to see you too.
It's the energy and the vibes always. It's always on 1,000.
Y'all know the vibes.
It's always the vibes. We start off every conversation where we want to know when you were broke, or tell us the story about being broke. And broke can mean so many things for different people. But for us, it's really a moment where finances became a factor and maybe you aspired to go get it.
I have the best story. So Coco and I, we actually never used the word broke because for us, we started at a very young age being very mindful of the words that we use. And there's always there's a power of when you say that you're broke, you'll always stay broke. Like using those words. And so when we were in a financial uncomfortable position, we would still call ourselves rich and wealthy because we knew that spiritually and mentally we were rich and wealthy. And I remember the time where I could have accidentally used the word broke, but it was a time in our early of our business where we spent our last bit of money to order. It was like the first time we actually started ordering production. We got our first big order from a Korean distributor. We literally used our last bit of money
For the eyewear company.
For the eyewear company to pay for this product, right? And we were so excited. And at this time, we were really new. We're going from DIY glasses to production glasses. And so we were still new to even like producing eyewear. And so I think our expertise at that time wasn't 100% great. And it showed because when the Korean distributors received our product, it was over 50,000. It was going to be a $50,000 order. They canceled the order. They said they're going to ship everything back, and I had to go on food stamps.
Oh my gosh.
And the wild part at that time, our eyewear brand, the company was getting so much press. We had every top celebrity wearing our products, and it was kind of like we were early in, so that was our first like distribution order, and so we were like, oh my
2012,
gosh,
maybe like
we were
2012.
so excited. And I remember Breezy signed, and for some reason, when I signed up for food stamps, I didn't get accepted, but Breezy did. and I was like, okay. But
So
I would
you was
never
broke,
forget.
broke. You was a different kind of broke. You couldn't even get the stamps.
It was like, right? And it was like we paid our rent and like only had a couple cents left. You know what I'm saying? But I remember me and Breezy, we called our co-founder Dwayne, and when we saw that email that the order was going to get canceled, we were all like, did you see the email? Did you see the email? And none of us were worried because we were like, you know what? It's time for us to step back and really figure out what are our high priorities. And we realized that we were spending too much time on things that weren't money generating. So one thing about us is that we were so good at marketing ourselves, but marketing ourselves, this is before we knew that we were going to be artists, and it wasn't helping grow the company. And so we stepped back and we were like, okay, now it's time for us to revisit how do we like spend time on things that are going to generate revenue. And so I remember telling our friends when Breezy got on food stamps, some of our friends and people around us, they were so uncomfortable when she told them, but she was like, every success story You always hear someone being like, oh, I had to sleep on my friend's couch, or I had to sleep in my car, or I had to get on food stamps. And so we kept it very transparent for people to know when that time happened.
And the beautiful part was the food stamps only lasted for a month, because that next month we literally changed our whole mindset. I remember Coco and I, we were on the train. I was borderline about to cry because, again, it's like the beginning of our business. It's our first time experiencing quote unquote broke, but again, never used that word on myself. I felt like that's a spell. And we sat down. I had a notebook and I was like, okay, what are our high priority things? What are the low priority things? What are the income generating things? And we were not spending enough time on the high priority and income generating. And that we like literally created a new narrative for ourselves and like rewrote like what our priorities were, that next month we got more income come in and I was no longer on food stamps. And we
It's
never were
amazing.
broke. We were never broke again after that.
NBA. NBA Coco and Breezy. Um
Mhm.
that's amazing. So talk to us about the journey of you all getting started, right? Why did you decide to build a business? And you guys have kind of been building two different businesses, right? Like you have like an entertainment business and then you have, the eyewear business as well. So kind of talk to us about what was the change agent that happened in your life to make you decide we need to go do this,
Well, firstly, I love that you said for our music that we have an entertainment business, because you're right. When you're a music artist, it's a business.
right?
So the same way, and I think a lot of artists and music artists, they don't treat that as a business. But everything we do in our eyewear company, we're doing that with our music business. We're looking at the numbers. We're seeing profit and loss. We're seeing how much we're spending on touring and production and all these things. So I love that. That's so important that you pointed that out. And I forgot your question already because I love
No,
that you
no,
said
so
that.
yeah, no, so basically, what made you guys start that, right? Because building two businesses at the same time, is really tough, right? Rodney and I, well, I guess theoretically, maybe Rodney has been building two, but the time and attention that it takes to get one business off the ground and become successful is really, really daunting and challenging. But to do it two times and to do it simultaneously is really tough. But like, what, there's a million things you could be doing that's easier than what you're doing right now. What was the moment that you said, we want to do this and we want to do it for this reason?
I think the first part is like understanding our purpose. One thing I feel grateful for is that with the businesses that we're building, we're actually like living in our purpose and they happen to become businesses. And so first it was the eyewear company, and we always loved fashion and we loved glasses, and we always knew we wanted to get into music. But we were like, you know what? Let's build the eyewear company first, because I do believe you can have multiple businesses, but sometimes it takes a little bit, depending on like when it's in your beginning stages and it's your first time doing it. um it's a lot easier to like build one thing first and get that running before you like start something else. And so I think the eyewear company was probably running for like 8 years, maybe 7 years before we started the music. And when we felt like the eyewear got to a certain point and we felt our calling in music, we were like, you know what? Now it's that time. And I think the beautiful part is that they kind of go hand in hand together. Our eyewear brand has always been, it's always been like aligned with the music industry. Like we've had every big music artist wear our product, and music has always been a part of that. And for Breezy and I, we always felt like we were more than just like founders. And I could never see myself like just sitting at a desk. I don't think that's not meant for us. Like we weren't meant to sit at a desk forever, you know? And so we said there was a time also where we were about to raise capital. Rodney knows there's so many times Breezy and I were going to raise capital. But I was like, do we raise capital or do we like go for our music career?
And I remember
Because
even
that's
at that time too, I remember we would meet with VCs and they would be like, you guys are bigger than this. Like you're more than just eyewear. And at that time we felt like we needed to prove ourselves as, in our head, we had this narrative that like, this fake narrative, false narrative that we thought to raise capital, we would be proven and taken more seriously as founders and entrepreneurs. But then we had other VCs and mentors that were just like, you guys, you don't have to go the same route as everybody else. Like, you guys are
Right.
bigger than this. Huh?
No, I agree. I wanted you to elaborate on the investment part because I think since really in special, you may not have taken capital, but talk a little bit about how many people have been supportive, your team, and the army of Coco and Breezy, the family.
Yeah, it sounds like you didn't take the capital, but you took the advice.
Yes. I mean, I would even say like Monique has been, first of all, Rodney, you were our A1, you were our first friend that was in like the tech world. We knew nothing about the tech world at all. I knew
Or
nothing
even
about
just
it.
like, or even like building a business that will go from like doing like DIY arts and craft. This is a passion to like actual like business. Like Rodney definitely was that friend that introduced us to all of this.
Yeah, and then you introduced us to Monique. And Monique has been such the most amazing mentor. And even though we didn't take her check, she still has given us the advice and like mentorship and guidance as if we did take the check. And I feel so grateful to have people like her in our corner who has given us the most amazing business advice. Also, she was the first VC to even tell us and support us in our music career as well because she has a music background. And she's the first person that made us not feel crazy that we're taking this route. Where again, I think that in a traditional aspect, people will say that they'll be confused about it because if they haven't, I realize when people give you advice, they give you advice based on their own experiences. And so
Right.
if I'm talking to a white man in a blue suit, that all he knows is being a VC and working for somebody, he only meets people that he only knows one thing. So it's confusing to him that we're founders and we're also music artists. And I had to learn to not get offended by that and to actually give grace to those people. It's not meant, it's actually, I feel so grateful for those people who didn't understand me because it X'd out the ones who aren't supposed to be a part of the community. And the couple of people that actually understood, now our community is tight knit and they actually understand us. And I feel grateful that now we're doing exactly what our life purpose is supposed to be. And we're not working for what we think we're supposed to be.
That's exciting. So, as you guys were building a business, one of the hardest things to do is brand. And most people have to go to outside consulting firms. They have to pay a bunch of money. Somebody has to tell them what's cool and what's going to resonate. But you guys have been really, really good at branding yourselves and building relationships. So, can you talk to me or tell the world how you were able to get your eyewear on so many, celebrities and influencers, et cetera? What are the hacks that you guys used in order to build success?
To be
Well, the
honest, oh,
Oh,
go
well,
ahead.
I would say the hack was us sharing our story. It all
Mhm.
started with Myspace. Breezy and I were like 16-year-old girls on Myspace. We'll be 35 this year, just to give you the math. And we were just like these young girls that had a dream to get out of Minnesota. And so we would just post ourselves online, showing our style. And from there, people got interested in our product. And so we ended up just moving to New York with less than $1,000. And we said that we were walking advertisements
Mhm.
or
Mm,
walking billboards. So we'd walk around Soho, New York. We'd walk around all these places and people would look at us and be like, who are y'all?
mm,
And it would be like, this lady would be like, oh, I'm Lady Gaga stylist. Here's my card. Oh, I'm this person's stylist. And I think that at that time in New York, it was different. It was like pre-social media.
yeah.
So, the times were so different then, which is crazy. I can't believe I'm saying that the times were different, but the times were different.
Yeah.
And we ended up being at the right places at the right time and meeting people. And
Hmm.
then even like when we worked with Prince, someone from his team reached out to us on Facebook and we ended up meeting Prince like a month later. And so
Wow.
I think the big part though is we always shared our journey and our story, and that's what kind of created our brand. We stayed true to who we were. And I think the
Hmm.
cool part is like even with our eyewear company, it's all about like the message behind that is all about community. It's all about affirmations. Like all of our glasses are named after people, places, and affirmations. And in our music, it's the same thing. So it all aligns. But for us, I mean, everyone's story is different, but we were able just to like build our brand based on sharing our story and we knew what our brand values were. And it's something that is not, it's not like, it's not made up. It's who we are. And that's why
Yeah,
everything is just Coco and Breezy.
it's not a gimmick. I like to say that we're sharing. Also, Coco, your camera looks crazy. Um,
Sorry.
but I think that I like to say that anything we do, like with our brand, our music, it's just an extension of who we are and our story and what we believe in. And there's so many times when we first started our eyewear company of opportunities that could have brought us money, but it didn't align with our like actual values. There's so many times we took on partnerships that we risked the bag because it was a big bag, but if they didn't align with our values, we would say no to them. But I think that what we did have the advantage of is that we had influence. And so we would be in these rooms, these big rooms, doing some of the biggest collaborations with, there's people at the table that might be racist. They told us, like, oh, we don't want all black and brown models. I'm like, well, if you want to work with us, this is where us, outside of us being founders of the brand, we're also the influencers of the brand. So we
Right.
took advantage of our influence. It's like, well, you don't have to fuck with us. Can I cuss or no?
It's your world. You could
You
do
guys,
whatever you want.
this is an adult podcast.
I know. I don't know, but we would be literally. There's so many big partnerships we've done, and they're like, well, no, we don't. Why is it so important to have so many black and brown people in the campaign? And we're like, well, you don't have to work with us anymore then. And then we would tell them why it's important, but we use our leverage of, we know that they want to work with us. Of course, they want to work with the brand, but they wanted to work with me and Coco. So
Right.
I think that we used our power to speak our truth in those rooms, and it helped us a lot. And I think that right there, it was our duty, since we got the privilege to be in these big rooms to do these amazing collaborations. It was our duty that if we were going to take on these collaborations with these corporations, that we would do it our way. We're not meeting in the middle. We're doing it 100% our way.
Yeah, there's a couple points that I want to reiterate. The authenticity. Um, when you are what you say you are, I think people receive it. And it's not a marketing strategy. It's not a go-to-market. One of the things we always talk about when we meeting politicians and other folks who say they care about people, you should be able to know that 100% without a doubt. That when you meet a person, it almost like you meet their energy. That you know that their intention is rooted somewhere. That's authentic.
100%.
And then everyone that's listening, Monique Idlet is the great investor, VC. Please go find her on Google. Just got to make the
Yeah,
points.
she is a queen. She
And
literally.
she's a queen. And Rodney, I always talk about how I remember when you first introduced us to her, Travis, me and Breezy were so nervous. I'm talking about shaking, shy, couldn't speak,
Oh wow.
kind
But
of
she
thing.
saw
Remember?
us.
But she saw us before we saw ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, that's amazing. It's
And oh, go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
And then we've become really good friends, and she also brought us in to be angel investors for a company that she invested in, which ended up being full circle.
That's amazing. So, and I want to pull on that thread, right, of you becoming an angel investor for the first time. So, how did that feel? What was your thought process? Have you all continued to make more investments as you think about, obviously you guys are founders and you know what it takes to build a business. What are the things that are most important to you as you evaluate opportunities to invest?
You want to go,
Coco?
Bree? Or
Alright.
so we did an angel investment with Our X. It's a hair care company, and first of all, when Monique reached out to us to ask if we wanted to angel invest, I felt like I was the shit because because no, the reason I'm not gonna even lie, because I just always remember when I looked at Monique like she was untouchable, even though she is. Actually no, we're not untouchable, but it's like it's crazy how perception just changes everything. But it's really about ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's the way you look at you think that it's other people, but it's really you the way you look at yourself and the way you value yourself makes a difference. And so I think that when I became more confident with who I was, when I like was even like we would go to Culture House, the party. I remember being in that room and feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know if we should be here. We're like, we look
Mhm.
like rock stars. Everybody's all like conservative, even though like, you know what I mean? Like everyone's trying to not let their hair down. But I remember when I stepped into my power, and I think I started stepping into my power when we started doing music. Because then I was
Mhm.
like, okay, now I feel like I'm really being me. And so we definitely want to angel invest into more companies. I think that for us, we want to invest in companies that we feel like we would use, something that feels like something that we're passionate in, something that we see the future in. And I think that like our ex, like I'm a natural hair girl, and so it was only right. Like it felt great to say yes to that.
It's
But I think the
awesome.
big part is that it just felt great to have Monique, someone that we look up to, bring us in to it.
You know, and Breezy, did you have another point on that?
No, Coco,
Yeah.
she said that.
You know, sometimes I meet artists or founders, and sometimes they have like a skewed reality of the work ethic. And one of the things I know about you too, despite having a ton of balance, is when you guys decide to work, it's work. Talk about your work ethic. Talk about where you get motivation, how you travel 200 days or 250 days out of a 300, whatever the date is. You know what I'm saying? Talk about it.
So last year, 2024, we did over 110 shows, just about. So we probably took over 200 flights last year. I think the difference between us and other DJs and producers is that they don't have to wake up for an all hands meeting, and we do.
Right.
And so,
Right.
but I think the bigger thing for us is once we started really taking our music career seriously, it allowed us as founders for Coco and I to really understand, for us to take more responsibility on the high level things. And we realized that we're actually spending too much time on like some of the smaller things that we could be delegating to people on our team. So it allowed us to really like hone in and be better delegators, and also to like really tune into our business to understand like what should we be focusing on. And so, yeah, I only know hard work, but we're also very balanced as well. And so I'm not team workaholic. I'm not team no sleep. I'm very much team be focused and also take care of your mind and your body, because in the beginning of our business, I used to burn out because we were on the hustle. And like burnout is not cute. And I think that what I think about is when I think about hard work, I also think about like every day I ask myself, what am I doing this for? Like tomorrow's not promised. Am I waking up feeling happy? Like what am I really doing? But we're definitely the girls that can roll our sleeves up. We're always rolling our sleeves up, and we're very hardworking. And I think the beautiful part is now it doesn't physically feel like I'm working hard, because we're in a position now where I love it. I'm not gonna front. If we only had our business and we weren't doing music, I would be physically drained. But I think us doing our music now, having that balance, I feel so much more fulfilled than I've ever felt in my life.
That's interesting. So like technically one of your businesses is an outlet in some regards, right?
Yep.
That's awesome.
I'm just going to double click again because I think what is inspiring about you two is obviously starting the eyewear business. But when you guys decided to be in music, and then I feel like at some point you decided to be great in music. Because we know a lot of people who want to do something, but they don't necessarily put the the effort to be great. Like I'm talking about you guys' investment in the music and beats and equipment before you had 200 shows, and Rodney was there.
Yep. Ronnie's on the song. He got some background vocals, in case
Yeah,
y'all didn't
Rodney
know.
is on one of our songs, if y'all don't know that.
But tell that story, because I have a lot of friends who aspire to be so much, and sometimes it's tough for me to be like, you just need to work harder.
Yeah, or the ones who say they don't have the time, or they can't find the time. It's like clearly you guys are finding the time to be good at music, to be great at music, to be great at building, an eyewear business, but also take care of yourselves? Like, what, how are you, yeah, what is your, how do you break that down? Like, how did you figure out how to do that? And, to Rodney's point, when did you decide that we want to put an emphasis on being great at all of these things?
Well, one thing I can say is that anything Coco and I touch is gold, and that's why I'm very careful of what I touch. And I don't say this in any type of a cocky way, but it's a gift that I have from the higher power. And so any hobby I do, I'm very like particular on because I know once I do it, it can turn into something. And so, I think when our eyewear company got to a certain point, once we understood what it was, we mentally, Coco and I, if we say we're gonna do something, we're not gonna just kind of do it. We're gonna do it to like our greatest potential. And so when her and I sat down, and it first started off when we said that we always wanted to be DJs, even before we started our company. Like in middle school and high school, we dreamed to be DJs. But we always told ourselves, we were like, okay, we're gonna start a company, and when it gets to a certain point when we feel like we get a sign to start DJing, we're gonna start DJing. So almost 10 years ago, I think it was like an angel, a random person. No one in the world knew that we wanted to be DJs one day. A random angel emailed us and was like, I want to book Coco and Breezy to DJ on this rooftop. And that was our sign. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like that was literally, I can't make this shit up. It was a sign. And so we're like, it's that time now. It's the time to do it. And so we were doing all the local stuff. And it was a part of I can say we have a really amazing manager, Johnny, which it was a part of the 6-year plan of everything we're doing now. And I think that Coco and I are great partners to like our agents and our managers because we're businesswomen first. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the way that we ran our business is the way that we kind of looked at even with our music. And once we were DJing, doing all the local stuff during the pandemic, we made the decision. I remember her and I sat down and we're like, we want to do all the festivals. We want to have all the hottest records. Like, what do we need to do? And we really sat and like try to figure out our sound. And like, we were like hustling, making all these radio mixes for Sirius XM. We were doing like virtual festivals. We were on the hustle, but we knew we're like, we are going to do this. If we're going to do it, we're going to go hard. And our first year of touring was like, we had to hustle because, mind you, we're known in the fashion space and in that space, but in the electronic music space, no one knew us. So we had to start. It was like starting a new business. And so our first year of touring was a hustle because all the rates were super low, but we had to go to all these cities to prove tickets. So we had to also, there's no ego in that. But for us, we were excited because I'm like, I feel like I'm starting a new business. Like
Like,
everyone knows that feeling of like starting a new business.
and I think
And
what
go
I
ahead.
love what I loved about it was like, okay, in this eyewear company that we were building, we can do an appearance and get a big check, or we can do a brand partnership and get a big check. When we were DJing our first year, we were getting rates that like a new DJ would get. But it's because it was us entering into like a new space. And I loved it because I was like, first of all, I feel grateful. I feel grateful that we did have income coming in somewhere else because we were able to invest in getting ourselves out there. But also, we knew that it was a sacrifice to grow. And like when we first started touring, like the rates were small, but we were like, we have to put ourselves in these different cities and states
I
so we'll
think
be
because
able to sell tickets.
we weren't unfamiliar with like what starting a business is. And so I
Yep.
think that we were able to we were so excited because we've been here before. That's how the Coco and Breezy eyewear company started, was like hustling. And so, yeah, the first year we hustled. The second year we saw the elevation and the growth. And the last year was our third year touring. And it's been incredible. It was crazy growth. And this year we're even going to be growing a lot more. I think the bigger thing is it, as creative as it is, I think us just being ourselves and also pushing ourselves to dream bigger, think bigger, make plans, make goals. The same way we would do that with our eyewear company, we treat our music business that way as well.
You know, for creatives, juggling multiple aspirations and businesses, because I love we have to start thinking about our creatives as businesses. Any tips as they think about the financial part in terms of
This is for like artists, specifically for music artists. I think a lot of music artists, from my experience, because music is a place where where there's an abundance of money coming in when you get to a certain level, and a lot of people lose sight because they have other people managing their money. I think it's so important to make sure you are tied into every step of the way, even if someone else is managing your money, like to really understand the numbers. And I think I see so many friends get messed. They like end up losing money because they trust their financial team a little too hard, and they're not understanding what's going on. They don't understand their profit and losses. They don't understand why they might have grossed this amount and netted this amount. They're just like, oh, is someone stealing my money? Yeah, someone might be stealing it. Or sometimes they don't understand that it costs to do business as
Not paying your
well.
taxes.
Yeah, all those things. And so I think the bigger thing is really like, no matter how big you get in the space, is to make sure you're always aware of what's going on. Because
And that's
there's a lot of
okay.
creative and artsy people that, of course you want to be artsy, of course you want to be creative, and you don't even want to touch numbers, but this is your business. You can't expect your managers and like your team to want it more than you. And you also have to, even though you can be creative, at least understand what's going on. Even if you're not doing the actual work, it's so important to just understand. What you say, Coco?
No, you said what I was gonna say.
now, I think it's a must. The equivalent of that is for us as founders to be like, hey, CFO, you run the business. We don't care about the numbers. We show up and do our thing. It doesn't work. And I think artists, creatives, influencers, when you realize that your personal likeness is a business, and as a business owner, you need to learn how to operate it, or someone will take advantage, just like a CFO will take advantage of us if we don't pay attention. Same rules apply.
For sure. Could you tell me a little bit about like you guys' leadership and management style? I can only assume that there was a time, or yeah, my assumption is that you guys being the rock stars that you are and having this, world traveler jet set lifestyle at some point or at some times can be difficult for the people who are working on your eyewear brand when, they're just sitting in the office on Zoom calls all day every day and Coco and Breezy are jet setting all around the world. Like being a hands-on leader, the trust that you must have in your team in order to deliver as you guys are moving around, can you just tell us a little bit about like that hack, right? Like you're building the right team and putting trust in a team and then making sure that they still view you as the leader that you are.
So it's so crazy. I remember there was a point where when we our first year of touring, we asked them like, "Do you guys think we're still good leaders?" And they're like, "No, you guys are the marketing. Like that is more. You guys are doing more work than everybody. Getting on the plane, wearing the
Mhm.
glasses every single night, and getting the name out there." So they look at us doing what we're doing as like we're saving on marketing costs.
Interesting.
And
And that's
yeah,
true.
and it's true. But go ahead, Coach.
Oh, I was gonna say the same thing. I think there was a point too, really fast, where Bree and I felt some guilt.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
We felt guilt because we're like, oh my gosh, we are super hands-on, but obviously we're traveling a lot. So I felt a little guilty for it. And then I remember having a talk with the team, and they're like, you guys can let go of that. But what I
Mm-hmm.
can say is everyone that's on our team, we all are like, I don't know how we always get blessed with people that are in the same alignment, like
In
spiritually.
vibration.
And we're all on the same like vibration.
Yep.
And so everyone has like very similar morals. Everyone's on the same vibration. Everyone is on the same like wellness journey. Every
Mm.
single
Yep.
person on our team, everybody.
Yep.
So I think that that's the first part.
it sounds like there had to be some intentionality with that. Like, what are the odds? Of course, yeah, it's possible that by happenstance that happened. But like, do you guys have a process in order to make that happen?
I think I
We
think
don't
what
have a
it is,
process. I think who we are,
we
people know
attract that.
that, and we
Yeah.
attract those people. We attract like the people that are like us. They're like non-traditional, non-conformists. They're on their spiritual journeys, and I think that people just automatically know that they can come to us, and it'll be a safe space and a safe work environment. And I think what I love about us as leaders is, for us, there's no like, obviously there's no power dynamic. And for, I think Breezy and I, we know what it's like to be someone that is different and someone that is not traditional. And so our team is the same. I think that, like, what else? I was just going to say something. I think the big part too is everyone feels
Comfortable.
like everyone feels comfortable. Everyone feels comfortable to be themselves. They feel safe. And
It
they
feels like
really,
community.
yeah, it feels like a big community. And they love what Bree and I are doing, what we're doing, because it's helping the business as well.
That's awesome.
So this is the part of the show where we fire off a couple questions. Everyone has to answer. There's no right or wrong answer, but technically I have the correct answer. So, when were the first sunglasses invented? 10th century, 11th century, or 12th century?
10th, 11th, or 12th century.
Century, correct.
Well,
I think
the first sunglasses were made in Alaska out of a bone by an Eskimo, and they made a slit to cover their to protect their eyes from the UV. I don't know what year that is, but is that the glasses that you found or no? No, you went deeper.
According to the answer, the 12th century, first sunglasses were made from smoky quartz that were used by judges to hide their emotions.
Wow.
What? That's crazy. That's a fun fact.
Interesting.
Fun fact.
That's interesting.
Next question.
The
True or
Eskimo
false?
story seemed pretty accurate, though. It made sense. It made sense.
It made perfect sense.
It made sense.
They kind of both made sense.
Yeah,
Probably both right.
for sure.
But someone was selling these sunglasses.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's facts.
True or false? MySpace was the first social media platform to reach 100 million users.
False. Actually, no, true.
I
Because what
think
other
true.
platform was there?
I think
Black Panther was
true.
around, but I don't think it made
I don't
it.
think it had 100 million.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Nah.
I'm gonna
Nah.
say true.
Yeah, I'm gonna say true.
True.
Yeah.
It's correct.
Yeah.
Last question. When was the first Coachella Festival? 1999, 2002, 2011.
99.
I'm gonna say 2002.
I'm gonna say 2002. I'm gonna say 2002.
The first Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival was held on October 9th and 10th, 1999 at the
What?
Empire Polo Club in India.
Hey.
And we're playing this year.
Woo! Oh, super, super, super dope. Congratulations.
Thank you. Can I tell y'all something really quick? I still get tripped out that we're music artists.
Me too.
I'm like, this is crazy that we're actually real music artists. We're not just like kind of doing it.
It's
And it trips
incredible.
me out still.
I know.
It's incredible, but it's a testament to the dedication.
Yeah.
Because like the evolution of playing certain music as DJs to then transcending into EDM to then becoming actual artists. You guys have started like a bunch of micro businesses, within that larger, establishment that you now are, which is amazing. And it takes a special type of person to be able to do that. And you guys were lucky enough to be carbon copied. So there's a lot of power in that, and it's super inspiring to watch.
Thank you.
Closely from afar.
Thank
you.
You guys always did it the Coco and Breezy way.
Thank you.
Any special message to our audience, and where can they find you? If you don't, any message.
I feel like my special message is for people to really live in their truth. And sometimes that takes you giving grace to someone who doesn't understand. I think my biggest thing that I learned in life is to be patient and graceful with yourself. And if you like really live in your power, that's real success. And living in your truth is real success. But also kind of like rewriting the narrative of what works for you. I think that as an entrepreneur, this narrative was pushed on me that being an entrepreneur is supposed to be hard. You're supposed to go home and cry. You're supposed to be team no sleep. Like that was like glorified to us. And we never like went home and cried. I felt like the way we did it was like in our divine purpose, the way we did it. And so like, I always felt like I was doing something wrong, but I think that everyone has their own stories. There's no right or wrong way to do it if you feel like it feels good to you. And that's, yeah. Go ahead, Coco.
And also, I think that rewriting what the word wealth, like being wealthy, means sometimes it's not like you can have the most money in the world and not have inner happiness. So we just have to know that like tomorrow is not promised. So as long as you feel wealthy within your heart and your soul, that's what like you can create what success means to you. Success
Also,
doesn't have to mean success doesn't have to always mean like becoming a billionaire, becoming a millionaire. Success can mean like you waking up in the morning and your mental health is at 100% and you feel wealthy inside. That's more important than anything.
and also, if for anyone who's listening, if you're in a financial situation that you don't want to be in, stop calling yourself broke because words are spells. And when you put that frequency into your body, saying that, I don't even like saying it, but when you say the BROKE word, it'll keep you there. It will definitely keep you there. So even if you're in an uncomfortable position, just know that if you keep calling yourself that, you'll stay there. But like mentally and spiritually, if you feel rich and wealthy, I don't know, something has to come out of that. But using the word broke will keep you broke.
But yeah, everyone, you can find us. Our Instagram, all of our socials are Coco and Breezy. And you can find us like our tour schedule. Our music is on all the music platforms. It's Coco and Breezy as well. And we're
our
touring
website.
around the world this year. We're already booked for like 50 shows for this year, and the year hasn't even started yet. So
And our website, cocoandbreezy.com, for the most amazing eyewear.
Awesome.
Fire.
Tip
Thank
of the
you
day.
both.
We are retiring the B word.
Yeah,
Yes.
no more B word.
Well, no more B word. Such a pleasure. Thank you all for joining the Wealth Break.
Peace.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you
us.
guys.
Thanks for listening, everyone. The hosts of the Wealth Break are me, Rodney Williams, and Travis Holloway. If you want to stay connected, follow us at The Wealth Break on all platforms. And be sure to visit thewealthbreak.com for additional resources to help you on your journey to building wealth. Our executive producers are Ryan Martz and Malik Saka, with Meredith Barnes as our supervising producer. Catch you next time on The Wealth Break.